Liam's eyes opened to a dim red glow. His head felt heavy, and his breath came out in small clouds. The air was cold, and the surface beneath him was smooth like glass. He tried to move his arms, but something warm and tight wrapped around his wrists, holding them down. His heart began to pound. A soft hum filled the room. It was not like the sound of any machine he had heard on Earth. It was alive, breathing, pulsing. He turned his head and saw Ava lying a few feet away. Her eyes were closed, her chest rising slowly. He whispered her name, but his voice was weak. She didn't wake. The walls around them shifted as if they were made of liquid metal. Strange symbols moved across the surface, glowing for a second before fading. Liam struggled again, and the bindings tightened. They felt almost like skin, but cooler. A hiss of air broke the silence. A door appeared in the wall without a seam or hinge. 3 tall figures stepped inside. Their skin was silver, their heads long, and their eyes glowed a soft green. They moved in perfect rhythm, each step silent, each turn exact. The one in front looked at Liam, tilting its head like a curious animal. "You? Awake," it said in broken English. The voice was deep but unnatural, like 2 tones speaking together. Liam swallowed, his mouth dry. "What do you want?" he asked. The alien turned to Ava, placing long fingers near her face. A faint light passed from its palm over her body, and her eyes opened suddenly. She gasped, jerking against the restraints, her breath fast and uneven. "Where are we? What is this?" she demanded. The alien leader straightened. "You save our people," it said slowly. Ava froze. "Save? From what?" Instead of answering, the alien gestured. A section of the ceiling opened, revealing a huge, shimmering hologram. It showed twisting strands of DNA, glowing blue. Next to it, a second strand appeared, different, green, with broken gaps. The blue strand moved, merging into the green, repairing the gaps. "Our kind dying," the alien said. "We, no more children. You, make new." Liam's stomach turned cold. He understood now. This wasn't rescue. This wasn't help. They'd been taken for one reason only, to breed a new generation for an alien race. Ava's voice shook. "We're not doing that." The alien leader tilted its head again. "You, no choice." Another alien touched a panel on the wall. The bindings around Liam's wrists softened and slid away, but before he could react, cold metal cuffs snapped shut instead. They pulled him to his feet with unnatural strength. Ava was lifted the same way. The leader stepped closer, its green eyes locking onto his. "Without you, we die. You will understand." Liam's breath came hard. He glanced at Ava, and she looked back, her eyes wide, her jaw tight. No words were needed. They both knew they had to get out, no matter the cost. The aliens led them through the strange door into a narrow corridor. The walls glowed faintly, as if lit from inside. Every few steps, the metal beneath their feet vibrated, and the air felt thinner. Liam caught glimpses through small openings, endless black space filled with stars, the curve of a distant blue planet, the cold shine of other ships drifting like silent predators. They reached another room, larger and brighter. It was lined with strange glass cylinders, each filled with thick blue liquid. Inside floated small forms, frail, alien-shaped, unmoving. Ava's breath caught when she realized they were children. The leader pointed at the tanks. "Our young, all dead before born. You, only hope." Liam stared at the silent shapes, his mind torn between horror and pity. Ava turned her head away, her lips pressed tight. The alien moved its hand, and the bindings shifted again, pulling them toward a platform in the center of the room. Above it hung a large humming device shaped like a crown. It lowered slowly until it hovered just above their heads, casting lines of light across their faces. Liam felt something press into his thoughts, a cold presence trying to read him. He pushed back, gritting his teeth, and the pressure faded. The alien leader watched him carefully, as if studying his reaction. A sudden low tone echoed through the chamber. The aliens stiffened, exchanging quick words in their own language. The leader made a sharp gesture, and 2 guards dragged Liam and Ava toward another door. They were pulled into a small cell-like room. The door closed, sealing with a hiss. The hum outside faded, leaving only the sound of their breathing. Ava sat against the wall, hugging her knees. "We're not leaving here, are we?" Liam stared at the door, his jaw tight. "We will. We just need to find the right moment." The walls pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Somewhere beyond them, the aliens spoke in voices that rose and fell like a strange song. The air smelled sharp, metallic. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, forcing himself to think. If the aliens needed them alive, they had time, but not much. And if he was right, the real nightmare hadn't even started yet. A sudden metallic chime echoed through the cell, and the wall in front of them split open without a sound. Two aliens stepped inside, their long silver arms ending in claw-like fingers. Without speaking, they motioned for Liam and Ava to follow. The cuffs on their wrists released with a hiss, only to be replaced by thin glowing bands of light that wrapped around their skin like snakes. The aliens led them through a twisting hallway. The floor beneath their feet seemed to shift with every step, almost alive. Strange lights pulsed through the walls like veins carrying liquid fire. Ava glanced around, memorizing every turn, every door. Liam walked beside her, his mind racing for any way to use this strange place against their captors. They entered a wide chamber with a high, domed ceiling. The air smelled sterile and sharp, like burning metal. Tables lined the walls, each covered in tools Liam had never seen, some delicate as spider webs, others heavy and sharp. Glass panels floated in the air, projecting spinning diagrams of human bodies. Without warning, a long mechanical arm swung down from above and hovered inches from Ava's head. She flinched as a bright beam of light scanned her from head to toe. Cold air rushed over her skin, making her shiver. Another machine scanned Liam, its movements quick and precise. Thin metallic fingers poked his arms, neck, and chest, leaving behind faint blue marks that glowed for a few seconds before fading. A soft hum rose from the floor, and suddenly a beam projected his skeleton in midair, every bone glowing faintly. The alien leader entered the room, his green eyes fixed on them. "Strong, healthy," he said slowly. "Perfect for joining." Liam clenched his fists. "We're not here to join anything." The leader tilted his head, ignoring the defiance. He turned to the other aliens and spoke rapidly in their language. One of them left the room, returning moments later with a small crystal sphere. Inside it, a holographic image flickered, two figures standing in a strange garden under a violet sky. They looked human, but their skin shimmered faintly, and their eyes glowed like emeralds. "This future," the leader said. "Human and us, one." Ava felt her stomach twist. "That's not our future," she said sharply. The leader didn't argue. Instead, he pointed toward the far side of the room, where a row of tall glass cages stood. Inside each one, a different species was trapped. Small reptilian creatures with golden eyes, tall feathered beings with delicate wings, and even something that looked like a shadow floating in liquid. All of them stared silently at the humans. As Ava's gaze swept across the captives, one of them caught her attention. A young alien girl, shorter than the others, with pale blue skin and hair that shimmered like silver water. She was watching Liam closely. When their eyes met, she mouthed a single word in perfect English. "Run." Liam's heart skipped. She turned her head quickly as one of the guards passed by, pretending she had said nothing. He filed her warning away, knowing it could be important later. The leader gestured toward a raised platform in the center of the room. "Step." Two guards pushed Liam and Ava forward. The moment their feet touched the platform, a translucent field rose around them like glass. Thin lines of light crawled up their legs, tracing every curve of their bodies. Symbols appeared in the air, shifting and rearranging themselves faster than they could follow. Liam felt a strange pressure in his head, like someone pushing thoughts toward him that weren't his own. Ava's breathing quickened, her eyes darting around for a way out. The pressure grew stronger until it felt like a weight pressing down on his mind. Then, as suddenly as it began, the lights faded. The leader looked satisfied. "Compatible," he said, his voice low and final. The guards pulled them away from the platform and toward a side door. This corridor was darker, the walls smoother. A faint mist curled around their feet. The air felt colder, heavier, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. They were led into a small chamber where a single narrow bed stood in the center. Strange machines surrounded it, their surfaces covered in faintly glowing lines. The leader stopped at the doorway. "Prepare them," he ordered, then turned and left. The guards locked the door behind them. Liam and Ava were alone again, but only for a moment. A panel on the wall slid open, and a tray of food appeared, small silver cubes and a clear liquid in a glass tube. Ava picked up one of the cubes and sniffed it. "It smells like nothing." She placed it back. Liam shook his head. "Don't eat it. We don't know what's in it." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the faint hum of the machines. Liam studied the room, noticing a small vent near the floor. The mist seemed to be coming from it. He crouched down, feeling the cold air against his fingers. It wasn't just air, it was some kind of gas, slow and steady. "They're trying to sedate us," he whispered. Ava's eyes widened. "We have to stay awake." They began pacing the room, keeping their bodies moving, breathing shallowly. Minutes passed, maybe hours. It was hard to tell in the dim light. Just when Liam felt his legs starting to weaken, a soft sound came from the vent. He crouched again and saw a shadow on the other side. A tiny hand pushed something through the grate, a small, flat device no bigger than a coin. Liam picked it up, and the pale blue alien girl's voice whispered faintly from it, almost like a thought. "This will hide you from the overseer. Wait for my signal." The voice faded, and the device went dark in his palm. Ava's eyes met his, and for the first time since they woke up, a spark of hope passed between them. The hum of the machines in the chamber never stopped. It was like a slow heartbeat, steady and constant, pressing into Liam's mind. He kept the small device hidden in his palm, its cold metal a reminder that they had one chance. Ava sat on the bed, her eyes fixed on the sealed door. Every few minutes, heavy footsteps passed outside, but no one entered. When the sound of the guards faded for longer than usual, Liam leaned toward her. Now might be the time. Ava's voice was low. "You think that little thing will get us out?" "It's the only thing we've got." He pressed the device against the glowing bands around his wrists. For a second, nothing happened. Then the light dimmed, flickered, and went out completely. The restraints loosened and slipped off his arms like water. Ava's eyes widened. "Do me next." A few seconds later, her restraints vanished too. They moved quickly toward the door, but Liam stopped, his ear close to the surface. The faint vibration told him a lock was still active. He tapped the device against the door's edge. A soft click followed, and the seam split open silently. The corridor outside was dark. The pulsing lights in the walls were dimmer than before, as if the ship itself was sleeping. Liam stepped out first, scanning both directions. No guards. They moved fast, their bare feet silent on the strange floor. Every corner looked the same, smooth silver walls and faint mist curling low to the ground. Ava tried to count their turns, but the ship twisted like a maze. A sound broke the silence, a sharp metallic chirp from somewhere ahead. They ducked into a side passage just as two alien guards walked by, speaking in low voices. Liam held his breath, the mist swirling around his knees. The guards passed without noticing them. When the way was clear, they slipped back into the main corridor. Ahead, a faint blue glow marked a larger space. They crept forward until they reached a wide opening. Liam peered inside and froze. It was the docking bay. Rows of small, sleek ships were lined up along the edges. Mechanical arms moved between them, refueling and repairing. Beyond, a massive shield of shimmering energy separated the bay from the cold emptiness of space. Stars glittered in the distance, their light spilling across the floor. Ava's hand tightened on Liam's arm. "We could take one of those." He shook his head slightly. "We'd never get past that shield without shutting it down first." Before they could move, a sudden alarm shattered the quiet. Harsh red light filled the corridors, and a deep voice echoed through the ship in the alien language. Heavy footsteps thundered in the distance. "They know," Ava said. They turned and ran. The twisting corridors blurred as they moved, the sound of pursuit growing closer. At every turn, flashes of silver skin appeared behind them. Liam spotted a narrow maintenance shaft along one wall. He shoved the panel aside and climbed in, pulling Ava after him. The space was tight and dark, the walls lined with humming cables. They crawled forward, the alarm still echoing faintly through the metal. The shaft ended at a grated opening. Through it, they saw a wide chamber glowing with pale green light. The air inside shimmered like heat rising from sand. In the center stood a massive cylindrical tank filled with thick blue liquid. Tubes ran from it into the walls, carrying the liquid in every direction. Ava whispered, "What is that?" Liam guessed, "Life support for the whole ship." Voices approached. Two aliens entered the room, their tone urgent. They checked the tank's readings, then left quickly. Liam waited until their footsteps were gone before pushing the grate open. They dropped quietly into the chamber. As they moved toward the far door, a soft voice stopped them. "This way." They turned to see the pale blue alien girl stepping out from behind one of the large machines. Her eyes were wide, but her movements were quick. She gestured for them to follow. They ran with her through a small side door that led into another narrow passage. "You can't get out through the docking bay," she said in perfect English. "They will block every ship. But there is another way." Liam kept pace beside her. "Why are you helping us?" Her voice was quiet. "Because my people don't believe in this. Forcing you is wrong, but if you stay, they will use you until you break." Ava asked, "What about you? Won't they find out you helped?" The girl didn't answer. Her silence was enough. They reached a ladder leading up to another level. As they climbed, the alarm changed to a faster, sharper tone. The girl stopped halfway and turned to them. "They've activated the overseer. If it locks onto you, it will control your body. The device I gave you will hide you, but not for long." They emerged into a small circular room with a large round hatch in the ceiling. The girl touched the panel beside it, and the hatch slid open to reveal darkness above. "That leads to the outer service ring," she said. "From there, you can reach the emergency pods, but you must move fast." She pressed a small metal disc into Liam's hand. "For the shield." Before he could ask anything more, the sound of approaching guards filled the passage below. The girl's eyes met his one last time. "Go." Liam pulled himself through the hatch, then reached down to help Ava. The girl closed the hatch behind them, her face disappearing into the shadows. They found themselves in a long, narrow tunnel that curved endlessly. The air was colder here, and through small gaps in the wall, they could see the stars. Ava's voice was barely a whisper. "Do you think she'll be okay?" Liam didn't answer. He just started running. Somewhere behind them, the sound of the guards faded, replaced by the low hum of the ship's massive engines. Ahead, the tunnel stretched into darkness, and the only way out was forward. The tunnel curved endlessly, the cold metal under their feet vibrating with the deep thrum of the ship's engines. Faint strips of light ran along the ceiling, just bright enough to show the way forward. Through narrow slits in the wall, Liam caught glimpses of space, black and endless, scattered with distant stars. Ava kept glancing behind them, her breath coming fast. After several minutes, they reached a section where the tunnel split in two. Liam hesitated, trying to decide which way to go. A soft pulse came from the small metal disc the alien girl had given him, almost like it was guiding him. The right-hand tunnel glowed faintly in its reflection. "This way," he said. They moved quickly, the air growing colder with every step. The hum of the engines was weaker here, replaced by a low, steady hiss. At the far end of the tunnel, they found a circular hatch with alien symbols glowing across its surface. Liam pressed the disc to the panel beside it. The symbols flickered, then faded, and the hatch slid open with a slow, smooth motion. The room beyond was small but filled with strange equipment. Screens floated in midair, showing shifting maps of the ship. At the center stood a cylindrical machine, its surface covered in pulsing lights. The air felt charged, like before a thunderstorm. Ava's eyes darted to the largest screen. It showed the docking bay and the massive energy shield blocking the exit to space. "That's it," she whispered. "That's what we need to shut down." Liam nodded and held up the disc. "She said this is for the shield. I just hope it works." He approached the cylinder and found a small slot near its base. As soon as he pushed the disc inside, the machine reacted, lights flashing, the hum growing louder. The shield on the screen began to shimmer and flicker, parts of it fading out before stabilizing again. A harsh alarm blared through the room. A voice in the alien language filled the air, urgent and commanding. Ava looked around. "They know we're here." Liam yanked the disc back out, but the alarm didn't stop. Instead, the screens began flashing red, showing multiple squads of alien guards moving through the tunnels toward their location. "We need another way out," Ava said. Liam's eyes fell on a narrow maintenance hatch on the far wall. They hurried to it and forced it open. The passage beyond was cramped, with pipes running along both sides. They crawled through quickly, the echo of footsteps growing louder behind them. Halfway through, the entire passage shook violently. A deep, rumbling sound rolled through the walls, followed by a faint, high-pitched whine. Ava paused, her voice tense. "What was that?" Liam kept moving. "Either the shield's breaking, or the ship's not happy about what we just did." The hatch at the far end opened into a larger corridor. Here, the lights were brighter, and the walls gleamed as if freshly polished. It was eerily quiet, but Liam knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. They ran, turning down the first side passage they saw. It led to a wide chamber that looked different from the others, less mechanical, more like a living space. Soft light filled the air, and the walls were lined with strange pods, each one holding a resting alien. Ava froze. There, sleeping. Liam's stomach twisted. The sleeping figures had the same silver skin and green eyes as the guards, but here they looked peaceful, almost vulnerable. For a moment, he wondered if they were seeing the last hope of a dying race. Before he could think further, a loud hiss came from behind them. The far door slid open, and 3 armed guards stepped inside. Their weapons crackled with green energy. "Run!" Liam shouted. They sprinted down the chamber, weaving between the pods. A blast of green light hit the wall beside them, leaving a smoking hole. Ava ducked as another shot whizzed past her head. At the end of the chamber, they found a tall, narrow door. It refused to open until Liam slammed the disc against the panel. This time, the door slid open instantly, and they slipped through just as another blast hit the frame. The new corridor sloped upward, the walls narrowing as they climbed. At the top, they reached a small observation deck with a wide, transparent wall. Space stretched out before them, the stars bright and cold. Below, the alien planet glowed faintly, its surface marked by huge, dark craters. Ava pressed her hand against the glass. That's their home. Liam joined her, his chest still heaving from the run. If we get out, that's where they'll take us. We can't let that happen. A sudden sound behind them made them spin. The pale blue alien girl stood in the doorway, breathing hard. "You've bought yourself some time," she said quickly. "But the overseer is searching. You have to leave now." Liam stepped toward her. "Come with us." She shook her head. "If I go, they'll know someone helped you. I can still hide here." Ava's voice was quiet. "You'll die if they find out anyway." The girl's gaze flicked to the stars beyond the glass. "I'll take that risk, but you must reach the emergency pods. Follow the service ring until you see the red hatch. It will take you there." Liam wanted to argue, but the look in her eyes told him there was no time. He gave a short nod, and she slipped back into the shadows. They turned and ran toward the far door, the hum of the ship rising again as if it sensed their movement. Somewhere behind them, alarms began to blare once more. This time, the sound was deeper, harsher, like the heartbeat of a predator closing in. The far door opened into another stretch of the service ring, its curved walls glowing faintly under strips of pale light. Liam and Ava ran without speaking, their footsteps muffled by the strange, smooth floor. Every few meters, a low vibration rolled through the walls, a reminder that the ship was alive and aware. The alarms in the distance faded, replaced by an eerie silence that made their skin prickle. They passed several closed hatches, each marked with glowing alien symbols. Most were locked, but one flickered faintly as they approached. Ava slowed, glancing at Liam. "Maybe we should check inside. It could be useful." Liam hesitated, then pressed the small disc to the panel. The hatch slid open with a hiss, revealing a cramped chamber filled with stacked crates and metal containers. The air smelled faintly sweet, almost like fruit. Inside the nearest crate were packets of strange gel-like food and small vials of glowing liquid. Ava picked one up, holding it to the light. "Energy supplies?" "Maybe," Liam said, slipping a few into his pockets. "If we have to survive in one of those pods, this might keep us alive." Before they could grab more, a faint clanging echoed from the corridor outside. Heavy steps, deliberate and slow, were getting closer. Liam shut the crate quietly, motioning for Ava to move. They slipped back into the ring and shut the hatch, pressing themselves against the wall just as 2 tall guards came into view. The guards moved with precision, scanning the walls as if searching for something invisible. Liam kept still, the small device warm in his palm. For a moment, one guard's glowing eyes swept over them, then slid past, moving on without alarm. Ava exhaled slowly when they disappeared around the curve. They kept moving until the walls ahead began to shift in color, the pale light turning to a dull red glow. The red hatch. Ava's pace quickened. That's it. The pods should be close. Liam pressed the disc to the panel beside the hatch. It opened into a short tunnel that led to a wide circular chamber. The walls were lined with small egg-shaped capsules, each fitted with a transparent canopy. Strange green symbols glowed on panels beside them. "This must be the emergency pod bay," Ava said, her voice trembling with relief. Liam moved toward the nearest pod, inspecting its controls. The canopy slid open with a soft hum, revealing a seat molded to fit a human shape. It was lined with soft, smooth material and had straps hanging from both sides. Before they could enter, a deep voice filled the chamber. "You think you can run from your purpose?" They turned sharply. The alien leader stood in the doorway, flanked by 4 armed guards. His green eyes glowed brighter than before, his expression calm but cold. Ava stepped in front of Liam. "We're not staying here to be used." The leader tilted his head. "Used? No. Chosen. Without you, my people will die. You will save us, whether you wish it or not." Liam's jaw tightened. "If your survival depends on taking away our freedom, maybe you don't deserve to survive." The leader's gaze hardened, and he raised a hand. The guard stepped forward, weapons crackling. Liam glanced at the pod controls, his mind racing. The disk might override the system, but only if he could get close enough to use it. Ava took a step back toward the pod, drawing the guard's eyes. Liam used the moment to move to the side, circling toward the control console at the center of the room. The leader's voice was low, almost regretful. "You cannot win. Even if you escape, you will not survive in the void without our guidance." Liam reached the console and slammed the disk into a small slot. The lights in the room flickered, and a warning tone echoed from the walls. The pod's canopies began to open automatically, their systems humming to life. The leader shouted something in his own language, and the guards charged. Liam grabbed a nearby metal rod from one of the open pods and swung it hard, knocking a weapon from a guard's hand. Ava ducked under another's strike and kicked the leg of his weapon, sending it spinning across the floor. One guard lunged at Liam, but he sidestepped and slammed the rod against the side of its head. The alien staggered, giving him a moment to grab Ava's arm and pull her toward the nearest active pod. The leader moved fast, crossing the room in long, graceful strides. His hand closed around Ava's wrist, the grip like iron. She gasped in pain, struggling to pull free. Liam swung the rod again, smashing it against the leader's arm. The grip loosened, and Ava stumbled back into the pod's seat. Liam jumped in beside her and hit the canopy control. The transparent shield slid shut just as the leader slammed his palm against it, his glowing eyes locking on them. His voice came through the comm channel, low and cold. "You may run, but you will always belong to us." The pod's systems roared to life, and with a sudden jolt, it shot forward, passing through a narrow launch tunnel. Behind them, the alien ship shrank into the darkness of space. For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the pod was the only sound. Ava looked at Liam, her expression a mix of relief and fear. "We got out, but where are we going?" Liam checked the small display beside the seat. Stars moved slowly past the viewport, and a distant point of light glowed ahead. "Wherever this thing takes us, we'll figure it out when we land." But deep inside, he knew the alien leader's words would follow them. Even out here in the silent dark, the feeling of being hunted had not gone away. The pod drifted through the black sea of space, its small engines humming softly. Liam sat with his back pressed against the smooth wall, his eyes fixed on the stars sliding past the viewport. Ava sat opposite him, holding one of the food packets they had taken from the storage room, but she didn't eat. Her gaze stayed on the distant glow ahead, the faint light of a planet growing larger with every minute. "How long do you think until we get there?" she asked quietly. Liam glanced at the display. "A few hours, maybe less if the pod's running at full speed." Silence settled between them, broken only by the steady hum of the pod. But underneath that hum, Liam could feel something else, a faint rhythmic pulse. It wasn't the pod's systems. It felt alive. Ava noticed it too. "Do you hear that?" He nodded, leaning closer to the wall. The vibration grew stronger when he touched it. "This pod might still be connected to the main ship somehow. Maybe they're tracking us." The thought made Ava's chest tighten. If they are, they'll be right behind us. Before Liam could respond, the pod's lights flickered. A deep, mechanical voice filled the cabin, speaking in the alien language. They didn't need a translation to understand the tone. It was a command. The pod's course shifted abruptly, turning away from the planet and angling back toward the darkness behind them. "They're trying to recall it," Liam said, moving to the control panel. He tapped the glowing symbols, searching for anything that might let him override the course. Nothing worked. The voice spoke again, louder this time, and the pod's speed increased. Ava's hands tightened into fists. "They're not taking us back." She reached for the small disc, but it was still lodged in the console back on the ship. Liam's eyes darted around the cabin until they fell on a narrow panel near the floor. He pried it open, revealing bundles of glowing cables. "If I cut the control link, maybe we can stop it from answering their commands." He pulled one of the food packets from Ava's hands and tore it open, using the sharp edge of the packaging to slice into the cables. Sparks flew, and the pod shuddered violently. The mechanical voice cut off mid-word, replaced by the low hum of the engines returning to their original tone. The pod's display blinked, then realigned to its previous course toward the planet. Ava exhaled shakily. That was too close. Liam nodded, but his relief didn't last long. A faint red light appeared on the screen, 3 small dots moving fast from behind. The alien ship had sent pursuit craft. "They'll catch up before we land," Ava said. "Not if we make them lose us first." Liam's voice was firm, but his mind raced. The pod wasn't built for combat, but maybe it had something they could use. He searched the control panel until he found a set of unfamiliar symbols. When he pressed them, the pod's hull panels shifted slightly, releasing streams of reflective particles into space. "What is that?" Ava asked. "Some kind of countermeasure. If we're lucky, it'll mess with their sensors." The dots on the display wavered for a moment, then split apart, moving erratically. The tactic had worked, at least for now. They stayed silent, watching the planet grow larger until its surface filled most of the viewport. It was a cold-looking world, covered in white ice and streaks of gray rock. Thick clouds swirled over the poles, and flashes of light hinted at powerful storms in the atmosphere. The pod began its descent, shaking as it entered the upper layers of the planet's air. The thin hiss of space gave way to the roar of wind. Ava gripped the straps, her knuckles white. "Please let this thing land in one piece." The turbulence grew worse as they dropped lower. Through the viewport, Liam saw jagged mountains rising from the ice, their peaks lost in swirling mist. A massive frozen plain stretched beyond them, glittering in the pale light. The pod angled toward a flat stretch near the base of a cliff. With a heavy thud, it slammed into the ice, skidding before coming to a rough stop. Steam hissed from vents as the canopy lifted, releasing a rush of freezing air into the cabin. Ava shivered instantly. "It's freezing." Liam climbed out first, his boots crunching on the icy surface. The cold bit into his skin, but he ignored it, scanning the sky. Above, faint trails marked the path of the pursuit craft. They were still coming. "We need to move," he said, helping Ava out. They ran toward the cliff, the wind cutting across their faces. The ice was slick, forcing them to keep their steps careful but fast. Near the base of the cliff, Liam spotted a narrow crack leading into the rock. They squeezed through and found themselves in a shallow cave, shielded from the wind. Ava leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "How long until they find us?" Liam listened to the faint hum in the air, the sound of engines approaching. Not long. He peered out from the crack just as a dark shadow passed over the ice. One of the alien craft swept low, scanning the ground with beams of green light. It circled once, then moved toward the landed pod. "They'll search the area," Liam whispered. "We need to go deeper." The cave sloped downward, the light fading as they moved inside. The walls glistened with ice, and the air grew even colder. Somewhere in the distance, water dripped steadily. After several minutes, they reached a larger chamber. In the center was a pool of dark water, steam rising from its surface. Ava knelt beside it, dipping her fingers in. "It's warm." Liam glanced around. "Geothermal heat. We can use this to stay alive." They sat near the pool, letting the warmth fight off the biting cold. But above them, the faint roar of alien engines echoed again. The pursuit wasn't over. It was only a matter of time before the hunters came into the caves. The sound of the engines grew louder, a low vibration running through the walls of the cave. Liam and Ava stayed close to the steaming pool, listening. Every few seconds, a green beam of light swept past the cave entrance, its glow flickering against the icy walls. "They're scanning," Liam whispered. Ava's eyes darted toward the entrance. "If they see heat from this pool, they'll know we're here." Liam stood and moved toward the crack they had entered from. He crouched low, pressing his back against the wall as a shadow passed outside. The alien craft hovered for a moment, the hum of its engines deepening. Then it drifted away, but not far. He knew they were being watched. "We can't stay," he said, turning back to Ava. "They'll send ground teams next." Ava stood, pulling her jacket tighter. "Then we go deeper." They followed the sloping tunnel beyond the pool, the warmth fading with every step. The walls closed in, forcing them to squeeze through narrow gaps and climb over slick rocks. The light from the entrance grew distant until it was swallowed by darkness. Liam found a ledge that overlooked a lower chamber. Faint bioluminescent plants clung to the walls, casting a dim blue glow. At the center of the chamber stood an arch of ancient black stone, half buried in ice. Strange symbols covered its surface, pulsing faintly like a slow heartbeat. Ava stared. "That's not natural." They climbed down carefully, their breath forming clouds in the cold air. Up close, the arch seemed older than anything Liam had ever seen, its edges worn smooth by time. He reached out to touch one of the symbols, and the faint light brightened. The cave trembled slightly. A deep tone echoed through the air, not from the aliens outside, but from the arch itself. The center of the structure shimmered like rippling water. Ava stepped back. "What is it?" "I don't know," Liam said, "but it's active." Before they could examine it further, the sound of boots on ice reached their ears. Voices in the alien language echoed through the tunnels, closer this time. A beam of green light cut across the chamber's wall, followed by the shadow of a tall figure. "They're here," Ava hissed. Liam looked at the arch, then at her. "It might be our only way out." The footsteps grew louder. Ava glanced at the entrance to the chamber. 3 armed guards appeared, their weapons raised. One shouted, and the others moved to flank them. Liam grabbed Ava's hand and pulled her toward the arch. The nearest guard fired, a green bolt of energy smashing into the ice beside them. The heat from the shot melted part of the wall, sending shards of ice to the floor. They reached the base of the arch. The symbols were glowing brightly now, the rippling surface in the center expanding outward like a living thing. Liam tightened his grip on her hand. "We jump, now." Ava didn't hesitate. They leaped together into the shimmering surface, and the world turned inside out. For a moment, there was no air, no ground, no sound, only light and motion. Then they stumbled forward onto solid ground, gasping. The air here was warmer, filled with the scent of strange flowers. Above them, a pale blue sky stretched endlessly, with 2 suns casting golden light across a grassy plain. Ava turned in a slow circle. "Where are we?" Before Liam could answer, the arch behind them flared brightly one last time, then went dark. No sign of the aliens followed. Relief washed over them, but it was short-lived. In the distance, shapes moved across the plain, tall figures riding creatures with long, curved horns. They were not the silver-skinned aliens they had escaped from. These beings wore dark armor and carried long spears that shimmered in the sunlight. "They've seen us," Liam said. The riders changed direction, moving quickly toward them. Ava stepped back. "What if they're worse than the others?" Liam looked at the fading arch, knowing they couldn't go back, even if they wanted to. "Then we find a way to survive, just like we always do." The riders closed in, surrounding them in a half circle. Their leader, a towering figure with deep bronze skin and glowing amber eyes, dismounted and approached. He studied Liam and Ava for a long moment before speaking in a language neither of them understood. When they didn't respond, the leader switched to broken English. "You are not from here." Liam's voice was steady. "We're running from something." The leader's gaze sharpened. "You bring trouble with you." Ava stepped forward. "We just want to live free, no one owning us, no one deciding our lives." The leader studied her for another moment, then signaled to the others. 2 riders dismounted, offering food and water. "You will come with us," the leader said. "The ones you flee from, they are hunters. If they find you here, they will find us too." Liam and Ava exchanged a glance. They didn't trust these strangers, but they had no choice. The alien leader's ship was still out there, and somewhere in the vastness of space, the silver-skinned hunters would be searching for them. As they mounted the strange horned creatures and rode toward the distant mountains, Liam looked back one last time at the arch. It stood silent and dark in the ice, but he knew deep down that it was not the last time they would see it. The hunt wasn't over. It had only changed its shape. And in this new world, the rules would be different. but the danger would be just as real.